Have you ever had a chill run down your spine, as if you're being watched, felt eyes on your back, only to find nothing? Well, come with me to a time before today, deep in the forests of old Basketville, where one man is about to find a secret buried for ages. Join me for the legend of the Hide Behind. Our tale starts in the forests of Basketville, a town full of lumberjacks and not much else. A small haven from the dense woods, the little town is built around Main Street, the foundation on which a sprinkle of shops and taverns was borne by early settlers. The lumberjacks and rumors go hand in hand, and one particular rumor spread like wildfire since the very first spark of mystery hit the kindling of a superstitious band of woodcutters. The rumor began with Franklin Jones, who of course was a woodcutter. He was walking home after a long day of work, on a trail littered with pine needles, the melancholy trees twisted in anguish, waiting for the sweet release of spring. The wind billowed around the large woodsman, sending a chill down his spine. Suddenly, the sound of a twig snapping behind him shattered the serene silence of the darkness. He whirled around, knuckles white on his hand as he grasped his axe for all he was worth. "Who goes there?" But there was nothing. Nothing but a pair of footprints the size of dinner plates, with 3 long claws protruding from the front. Could have been there before. But the tracks were on top of Franklin's something, or someone was watching him. Again he spun around, looking for a stalker that didn't exist, an answer to a question never asked. Not there, not anywhere. Nothing but footprints and shadows that were always right behind. Jones's body was found the next day, interrupting the calm routine of the workers, who once cheery morning was turned eerie and dismal. Slashed on the grounds were the words, "You may be 1 step ahead, but I'll always be 1 step behind." Naturally, the woodsfolk wove their tales and stories of a creature they called the Hide Behind, who was inexplicably always right behind you. Someone claimed to have seen it, but no one truly had. The beast was there, though, stalking woods for stray victims. The Hide Behind claimed the lives of 7 lumberjacks since Jones was attacked. No one but the lumberjacks of Basketville knew about the grisly attacker, until one day, the story reached a reporter from the newspaper Washington Gazette, Phil Baxter. Baxter hated his job. Let's just make that clear. He had high hopes when he became a reporter, but was soon consumed by an angry boss and incompetent co-workers, and was stuck doing dead-end stories and making paychecks dwarfed by his bosses. So when the story reached him through the unknown way these things spread, he begged his boss to let him do an article about the mysterious creature lurking in the woods. "It'll be the story of a lifetime," he begged. "If you're going on a wild goose chase, you're paying for it out of pocket," bellowed the cantankerous editor. "Yes, of course, sir," said Baxter excitedly, eager to escape to his passion of reporting. "Then get out of my hair already!" Baxter was off so quick you'd think he was just a hallucination. Before the sun set, Phil Baxter was on a train headed for Basketville, optimistic for an adventure, a story, and a bonus, not knowing the ferocity of the things he would find in those woods. Now, dear reader, there hasn't been a reporter to Basketville since the unfortunate Jonathan Scooter offended some lumberjacks and was chased from the town, his briefcase littering papers and photographs behind him. So it shouldn't have been a surprise that when Phil Baxter strode down Main Street like it was hot stuff, there was a decent amount of skepticism from the townsfolk. "So, what brings you to Basketville, stranger?" inquired the innkeeper at the tavern. "I'm a reporter for the Washington Gazette." "What are you reporting?" "Something called the Hide Behind." Time stopped in the old tavern. The hubbub of evening conversation died down. The clinking of cutlery froze, and every eye and mind turned to the sheer hearsay of mentioning the Hide Behind. The clerk's glare was sharper than the axes everyone carried. "Come with me, Mr. Washington Gazette." The two walked through the deserted street, a cloud of awkwardness hanging in the silent air, the thudding footsteps the only sound, replacing the ambiance that vanished with the coming of something strange. "We're here." They had arrived at a large stone building with smoke billowing out of the chimney. The warm glow of candlelight spilt out of the windows, illuminating the bronze plaque reading Town Hall. The door edged open and the pair entered into a vast room with a long table spanning across it, candles and maps scattered on its surface. Giant map with 8 red X's marked on the outskirts of the forest. 3 men in brown suits stood at the head of the table. "You're that reporter from Washington," said the man in the middle, who had long hair down to his shoulders, the color of moonlight, and a look so sour it hurt your mouth from across the room. "As a matter of fact, I am, and I want no part in your little thing you've got going on here. I came here to do a report on the High Behind, and that thing has killed 8 people, and no one can even see it!" The outburst came from the man on the left, who had close-clipped black hair and a heavily scarred face. "Who even are you people?" demanded Baxter angrily. "All you need to know is that we control the town, and we don't want any nosy, city-slicking reporter sharing terrifying stories about us with the whole country." This time it came from the man on the right, who had a gold tooth and salt and pepper hair. "But your people are going to get massacred by the Hyde. Silence! Leave now, and if I hear another peep out of you, I'll banish you from this town." The man in the middle suddenly reminded Baxter of his short-fused, short-tempered, short-everything boss. He would have to return eventually. The walk back from the town hall was somehow even more eerie than it was going there. 8 people killed? Surely he was exaggerating. Baxter was beginning to regret his eagerness to pounce on this job. When he showed up at the tavern again, the shifty-eyed bartender said nothing as he showed him to his room, where Baxter spent the night writing in his diary, pondering the question of the hour. What is the High Behind? Why does it exist? Why does it hunt the townsfolk? Thoughts of all sorts raced through his mind, a chilling sensation of something right behind him, haunting him through the night. He will find the High Behind, no matter what this town full of fools thinks. Our intrepid reporter set out the next morning, steadfast on finding answers to this horrific mystery. "I'll put up posters, look for someone to interview." And so he did. He found a store that sold parchment and pens. His hand scribbled out the poster like his life depended on it, and in the time you could boil an egg, there were posters all over Basketville, asking for anyone with information on the mysterious creature. Knock, knock, knock. Baxter had scored on his first shot at finding someone with information on the Woodland Killer, with none other than the best friend of Franklin Jones, the first of many lives claimed by the Hide Behind. Franklin, well, he was always believing in spooks and goblins and stuff like that, but ever since he died, I swear, I've seen things that weren't there before. Stephen Gladgo was sitting on an old oaken stool in the alley between the inn and a furniture store. Phil Baxter was leaning on a wall opposite to the stool, jotting down everything and anything Stephen said. "What did you see?" inquired Baxter, with a look in his eyes of a wolf desperate for the hunt. "Shadows, tracks, all sorts of signs of something behind me. I actually saw the shadow of, what did it look like?" Suddenly people charged out of their houses, axes in hand, with a war cry fit for the Crusaders themselves. "The High Behind got the man! We'll get it this time! Death to the High Behind! Kill it! Hunt it down! For Franklin!" Stephen, who a moment ago was calm, somewhat nervous and happy to share knowledge of his fallen friend, was now transformed into a revenge-driven hunter, charging to the woods with the rest of the mob. "If I go with them, I could potentially die. On the other hand, if I don't, I'll miss first-hand experience and helping these people." And so, Phil Baxter, the reporter from Washington Gazette, advanced into the forest. He and the mob trotted through the woods, trampling over anything that dared to stand in their way, until they arrived at the scene of the murder. The mayor, who turned out to be the long-haired man from the night prior, lay on the ground, dead as a doornail, a message scribbled on the ground in the Hide Behind's gruesome writing. "I am the shiver down your spine. I am the scream that chills you in the night. I am right behind you." Instant, a single mind read that filthy carving. 2 groups of the mob split off, one facing one direction, the other looking backwards, in an effort to hoodwink the forest terror. So now Baxter stood alone, unaware of where he was, not anywhere near where he thought he'd end up when he begged his boss for this. Was it truly only a few days ago Snap! The sound of a twig snapping behind him made his heart skip all the way to the next time zone. I actually wanted this. Now this job really will be the death of me. He realized in his petrified stupor of thought that he had no weapons, no tricks, no plans, and no hope. So he ran and ran and ran. He heard the rustling of leaves and branches close behind him, putting enough adrenaline in him that he could lift New York if he wanted to. A high-pitched snarl echoed into his ears. Rustle, rustle, rustle. Stop. He had kept running so long after it stopped, then he froze. Where is it? Maybe it wasn't the hide behind. Could have been a bear. If it was a bear, then why am I still alive? Then again, he had similar questions about the hide behind. So he made his choice. He braced himself, turned around, and beheld the hide behind, caught in the branches, unable to, hide behind. It was a tall, lanky thing with gray skin like tree bark. His head was twisted, horned branch with lopsided red eyes, sharp, long claws protruding from its withered hands, and random thorns sprouting from random spots. In the same footprint seen by Franklin Jones on that gloomy evening, trailing behind his own. The sheer horror of seeing such a twisted, murderous thing caused the stupefied reporter to fall to his knees, frozen in terrible awe. Then the last thing our dumbfounded reporter expected to happen, happened. His now trapped trapper, the terror of Basketville, the murderer of 9 people, crumbled to dust, each cursed limb withering away. Its fiery eyes died out before Baxter could even react. The beast was gone except for a pile of ashes. He breathed a sigh of false relief. Phew! The dusk began to move, hurling towards Phil Baxter, coating him before he could even react. He started to change. He gazed at his hands that weren't his. He felt his mind shift, his skin becoming rough and coarse. The next thing he knew, he was behind a lumberjack, ready to pounce. So, dear reader, next time you feel a chill on your spine, or sense eyes on your back, remember that you'll never truly know if the hide behind is there, ready to take its next victim, who might be you. But do not look upon it, or you will meet the same fate as Phil Baxter did all those many years ago in the faraway town of Basketville.